And hello, everyone. Happy Wednesday. I am excited and looking forward to today's episode. Today, we're going to talk about mastering networking with your PPO dental insurances. I have been bombarded with phone calls and emails from clients, past clients. I have current clients and aspiring dentists that are looking to work and open their practices, start off on the right foot. And there is so much confusion out there about how to handle for insurance participation in your practices. And so, in today's episode, again, I am looking forward to dismantling some of the myths that are out there. I want to share with you some of the current updates that are happening that are going to be affecting you. This is if you are an existing practice owner, you're going to be able to benefit from this live. If you are an established practice owner, if you are an aspiring dental practice owner, this is also going to be a helpful training for you to go through, as I know that this is going to be insurance is going to be part of your business model. I encourage you to take the time to learn. The more you learn, the better equipped you are going to be to make informed decisions for your business. As those of you that are joining me, please let me know in the comments if the audio is okay, if you are able to hear me and see me okay, and where you're watching from, and whether or not you are an established practice owner. Just say hello, just so that I know that my message is getting out there and that all the technical things are working. If you don't mind, Facebook user is saying we're good to go. Thank you so much again for joining me. And I am going to go ahead and share my screen in just a couple of seconds so that I can walk you through exactly what I want to focus on. So, um, first things first, my name is Maritza Duran. For those of you who are new to my community, new to my network, I have been working in the field of dentistry for over 25 years. I started my career as a clinical dental assistant in 1998. And I've worn every hat in a dental practice. I went from clinical dental assistant to front desk, office manager. I helped one dentist open 15 dental startups over the course of 18 years that I worked for this one individual. Same doctor I started scrubbing instruments for. I became his regional manager, overseeing 15 offices that I helped him expand and successfully be able to launch and grow. And so I left that position about 4 or 5 years ago to start helping dentists who are first time practice owners launch and grow their first dental practices successfully. And I have been working with dental insurance companies since 2004, when I did my first startup that I was promoted from clinical dental assistant to front desk. And so I started working and I gained a lot of exposure, and through trial and error, working and dealing with dental insurances. I worked in dental offices where we had mostly PPO and Medicaid practices. And I also work and help launch offices that were fee for service practices. And I had to unlearn a lot of the insurance oriented mindset. And today, during this live, I am going to focus on the different options that you have for working with dental insurance companies, the pros and cons associated with whichever model or strategy you incorporate for your business, and last but not least, um, how to navigate all the changes that are inevitably going to take place as you grow your business. Since I started MDent, I started offering a smaller number of services, and as you would imagine, I started off offering insurance negotiation and credentialing services. One of the reasons why I chose to do this is, one, my former employer and mentor had made the suggestion. And one of the things that I did for the group as we were expanding and growing was precisely helping the office become doing the negotiations with the different insurances as we were expanding. So I facilitated a lot of custom negotiations that took place for the group. And so I developed and built very strong relationship with insurance agents that have led to custom negotiations and dealing with the directors of some dental insurance companies and whatnot. And I get seeked out to, I've, about I want to say about a year ago, I did have one very specific project where the dentist had a unique situation, and we had to communicate with the director of the insurance company in order for us to have, their board approve for her to be contracted as a mobile provider in a contract that had never been established in the area where she was. So there is that, and then there is the PPO negotiations that are taking place when you hire someone to helping you with your startup practice. Or maybe about 2-3 years ago, you hired a company and they shared with you the strategy of incorporating network umbrella companies into your insurance participation strategy. And although there are pros and cons associated with this, and one of the reasons why I decided to focus on this particular topic this week is because recently we just received a notification, and I'm going to go ahead and share my screen now, about changes that are happening. And I received a lot of emails concerning, Maritza, is this right? Are they able to do this? I signed up and I was dropped. They send a letter to my patients. Now, what do I do? So today, over the next 30-40 minutes or so, I'm going to give you a step-by-step process, like a crash course, because I want you to conquer and master the PPO networking strategies that are going to help you make insurance participation your ally and not your adversary. And I'm going to basically be clear and transparent about the process, or the fact that you are not going to be able to all the time be able to let me see, am I sharing my screen? Let me present uh screen, extra camera, stop present screen. So it looks like I'm not presenting my screen anymore. Now I'm going to slides, share screen. So if I'm sharing my screen and I'm doing this, are you guys able to see me and my screen? Okay. So let me know in the comments if you're able to see me and you're able to see my screen simultaneously. Just give me a thumbs up. Anyone that is watching, I would appreciate that. So, about the services, or network participation, if you will. My goal for today is to talk about the challenges that dental offices today are facing when it comes to PPO insurances and the options that you have available and how they are causing a lot of stress. I want to teach you some solutions so that you can face these challenges for participation as they come along, and really share with you the honest truth about what happens behind the scenes, and illustrate and show you exactly why these things are happening so that they don't catch you by surprise. And if they do, that you're able to come up on top and not let it affect your day-to-day operations. So if you have any questions along the way, please post them in the comments. And if I didn't cover something and you're interested in knowing more, please, by all means, let me know so that I can go ahead and work on that and get back to you. So what does PPO networking mean? Okay. So the first question, or going back to 2004, when I first started working with dental insurances. When I started working with dental insurances, in order for you to work with a plan, specifically, say, Aetna, the national carriers, the PPO carriers, you would reach out to Aetna directly and request their reimbursement. Some offices or dentists, the further back you go, the less they were inclining to having the awareness of, hey, I can negotiate my fees. I so happen to work for a very business wise dentist who had a very strong vision and was a negotiator. So I learned from this, mentor of mine in this dental practice that, hey, we can leverage participation and we can negotiate. So for me, as a former employee of a expanding group, the leverage was we were opening in multiple areas, and there was a need for certain specialties that we were fulfilling that need. And so that was our leverage. And that's how we were able to get in front of directors of insurance companies to give us customized fee schedules that were above the market share because there was a need. But I'm talking about 2004, and I started my career in 1998. I started working as an admin for this dental practice in 2004. So that's almost 20 years ago. 20 years ago, in order for you to work with one insurance company, you would reach out to this insurance company, negotiate with them if you were wise enough, if you understand the system. But it was not so much the case. I see a lot of dentists now who are retiring, and I'm representing the buyer. And there's a lot of missed opportunities on the part of the seller because they didn't position their fees prior to selling, and their valuations are not ideal because they have outdated fees. And I have also encountered situations where I'm working with a buyer and our goal is to inherit or carry over the seller's fees because they were so diligent. So putting everyone in this box where it doesn't really make sense and it doesn't help you. Every office is different. And when we're talking about networking, and we're talking about umbrella companies, we are talking nationwide. In your particular office, in your area, you may have never heard of some of the insurance companies that are part of the umbrella relationship that you have joined. Why? Because they are regions specific and they may not affect you in your practice. So it's something for you to note and consider. So a PPO networking simply means that you have decided that you didn't enroll with an insurance company directly. And I'm using the example of Aetna, that 20 years ago, you would reach out to Aetna, get the fees, contract with Aetna, and boom, you were in the network and you would accept direct participation with them. I think one of the very first experiences I had with dual insurance participation or lease partnership agreements was between Aetna, Ameritas, and Principal, where Principal and Ameritas had this mutual relationship. And one of my very close friends that was she's already retired, that was a major recruiter for one of the insurance companies that I had a relationship with. She warned me, and I'm talking about 7 years ago. She said, Maritza, the new model that most insurance companies are incorporating, it's called share costs savings. Ameritas, United Concordia, and Principal were the very first to incorporate this model. And every other insurance company out there, it's either creating policies to compete in the marketplace with Delta Dental or creating affiliate partnerships amongst themselves so that they can be able to expand their margin. And one of the loopholes that insurance companies have done is create this networking or these lease partnership agreements where they are now having access to each other's providers. And if you, let's say, just, a simple example, have a relationship with Aetna and you have a relationship with Ameritas, but your fee schedule with Ameritas is $35 for, say, an exam, a periodic exam, and you have a contract, say, with Aetna that is $38, let's just hypothetically speaking. What the insurance's loophole and the cost share savings model that most dental insurance companies are now incorporating is they would use, if you have two contracts, that overlap, that they each share their network, the insurance companies can choose to pay out the claims following the lowest of the two fee schedules. In this case, Emeritus pays you $35. So what they do is with that $3 difference, they split it. $1.50 goes to Aetna, then the $1.50 goes to Emeritus. And that is the model of share costs savings. A lot of insurance companies are incorporating this. So, something to keep in mind when the insurance companies are not um, working on doing this, they are either working with the employers who are trying to renegotiate their premiums for their policyholders, and they're trying to reduce as a result the reimbursement at the reimbursement level for the providers. So you see this happening with Cigna. Cigna recently sent out letters to most of their to their providers, saying, "Hey, we've done a revision, and following this revision, we've decided that we're going to have make cuts for some of these companies." Delta Dental is doing this all the time. And so, why this is happening? It's happening because a lot of the insurance, a lot of the employers, specifically after COVID and all of this economic hardship that is happening, are sitting back with the carriers and trying to renegotiate the premiums for their group policies. And as such, they are now putting lowering the reimbursement. That's one aspect of it that leads to you wanting to do the PPO networking. And the other aspect is at the coordination of benefits for the patient's policies, then you're going to start to notice that the patient's benefit levels are being reduced. So a patient that would normally get bite wings covered every 6 months will now have their bite wings covered only once a year. So the insurance companies are working on making these changes at the speed of light. And one of the things that I decided to share with you all as part of my slides here is the letter that we received from Carrington and the change and how to navigate that. So, which are some of the major umbrella networks that are out there? And first and foremost, I think it's important to go back for those of you, because I said I wanted to make this very basic because I know that I have an audience that, again, I have my clients that have worked with us when I started offering the PPO negotiation services. As I've continued to grow and evolve, adding more services and more comprehensive startup consulting programs, there's still a good portion of relationship base that I built. So I know that I owe them that level of awareness of the changes and for them to master the relationship with the agents and all that. So there's them, and then there's also those aspiring new dentists that are out there thinking, what's the best solution for me to incorporate for my dental startup? What are my options out there? So as I said before, you always have the option of working directly with an insurance company. I use the example of Aetna, which is, again, 20 years ago when I started working as an administrative front desk at a startup practice. I work directly with most of the insurance companies. But as more and more dentists are opening their doors and as more and more insurances are rising, there are so many different aspects of options for you to join a network. And so the negotiations that I am used to doing prior to, because we had leverage as a group as we were expanding and growing, is not the same that is applicable for a dentist who is opening in a saturated area that has an 800-to-1 patient to doctor ratio. That is just, there are no incentives for the insurance companies to give you a fee schedule that is going to be acceptable for you. Aetna, for example, I'm always use that example. It's just the easiest one. And so what you have to do is you have to understand that you have also the option of tapping into the relationship that Aetna is now expanding to expand their margin through one of their affiliate partners or lease partnership agreements. So we have here some of the major umbrella networks. Now, a network does not mean it's not an insurance carrier. That means that Carrington, Connection Dental, Dentamax, they may have their own, programs, if you will, but they are just basically an insurance. They're not an insurance company. They serve as the fee schedule that is utilized. And a lot of the plans that are part of their relationship, they get your name gets leased out to all of these different companies, and you bump into the possibility of being picked up and accessing some of the networks that are part of that lease partnership agreement. So just to paint the picture, these are some of the major umbrella companies. We have Carrington, we have Connection, we have Dentamax. And again, these are nationwide umbrella network companies. When you don't sign a direct contract with a specific plan, if they so happen to have a lease partnership agreement with one of these companies, then you have the potential, access to, they can access you as an in-network provider at their discretion by adding you to their network. So that's one of those advantages. Now, here comes the reason for this live today, is that a lot of offices have learned about the option of using an umbrella company, and you see the benefit of the difference in reimbursement, that it's a lot better, and you say to yourself, this is the solution to my problem. And if I can say something, and I'm gonna stop sharing for just a second, something that is extremely important to remind you. For every solution, this is true for my business, and this is true for your dental practice as well. When we have a challenge in our business, we always have the solution, and within the solution, there's always going to be a sub challenge. And so for us in dental offices, as we are now opening so many practices, it's so competitive, the reimbursement is so poor, we have to leverage and optimize our participation. The problem is the reimbursement. The solution becomes these umbrella relationships, right? Because we're able to get higher fee schedules. But within the higher fee schedule, there are limitations and there are challenges within. So I always tell my clients, especially those startup dentists out there, you have a problem. The problem is the reimbursement, and we have the solution. The solution is not enrolling directly and instead going through an umbrella relationship. Now, the umbrella relationship, the higher the fee schedule, and this is also true for those of you who have direct contracts, the higher the fee schedule you accept in your office, the fewer membership access. The insurance companies are, again, one step ahead of you. They have the resources, they have the money, they have the time, they have the people to be constantly working towards reducing costs and being more profitable. For us as the small business owner that has to work and sort of collaborate with the insurance companies in order to get our businesses up and running, we need to be strategic in our relationship with them, but we need to have a clear expectations. So this is for those of you who are aspiring dentists. You are going to have the issue of the poor reimbursement. You're going to be giving the options of working directly with an insurance company or seeing what the reimbursement will look like if you should choose to work through an umbrella relationship. Through the umbrella relationship, you may be looking at 30-40% higher fees. Now the catch is, that's the solution to the problem. Now let's talk about the sub issue or the sub challenge within that. Number one, you're not going to have access to all of the patients. And number two, it's going to take longer for you to be able to join this network. So a lot of dentists have caught on to this, and they're incorporating this strategy within their offices. And if you are a startup practice and you have the right training in place, the right mindset, and the right reimbursement, you're able to make it work. And I'm going to show you exactly what that looks like in a second in one of my slides. But I just want to make sure that we're clear on this. The problem is the reimbursement. The solution then becomes the networking relationships. But within the networking relationship, there are sub challenges that you're going to face. One of them being the fact that they may or they may not accept you into their network. So a lot of clients or dentists recently received this letter in July saying, hey, Carrington, for those of you who are now able to treat our patients with Guardian under our lease partnership agreement, guess what? Guardian is no longer going to be, it's dropping the network. So effective August 1st, your claims are going to be processed out of network. I have phone calls and messages from some doctors saying the patients received the letter before I could even learn about this change. What do I do? So I help them draft a letter to go out to the patients, explaining to them, hey, this is a thing. Call our office and we'll figure out a way. And then we started going and mapping out and creating the strategy for what alternative options there are. Next thing you know, yesterday, as I decided to create this this event to talk about this, another letter came in, and this is the perfect illustration of what the pros and cons are, or one of the challenges within the participation. So I had a pediatric dentist who was 85% of his office private fees through the Carrington relationship for his Guardian patients, right? So he reaches out to me. He's like, Maritza, I requested, I have the fees, but they're horrible. The fees directly are horrible. So do you suggest I work directly or I just remain out of network? And again, you have the option of doing that. But the issue then becomes a lot of these insurance carriers, just the fact that Guardian is has a PPO network, they sell policies to self-funded plans, to commercial plans, pension plans, and so everyone is purchasing these policies from Guardian, and they have different purchasing power. And so one company or one employer may process your Guardian claims following your office private fees closer to the 85% reimbursement that you were working with as a specialist through your Carrington relationship. But there may be an employer that also offers Guardian to their employees who is a current patient in your practice, and it's a self-funded program through like a local state union or something, and they're not going to process the claim based on that information, based on your UCR, similar to what they were doing before. So these are things that become very confusing. Now, this is the twofold. Now, the insurance company, yesterday, as I was putting this together, I get this notification. Hey, by the way, Guardian's decision no longer work with us and access you through our network. It's no longer what has been reversed. So nothing happened, business as usual. But they've already sent out the letter to those patients saying, hey, your provider is out of network. Here's a list of in-network providers that you can basically access and go and get your services done there. And your office might have already lost some of these patients. It created so much confusion at your front desk and so many difficult conversations with patients under treatment. You're, having to reorganize the calculation of the treatment plan. Craziness. But this is the perfect example of what happens behind the scenes. We are at the mercy of all these changes happening, and we have no control. So what do we need to do? The first thing we need to do is we need to understand that in order for us to make insurance work for us and not against us, we have to make insurance secondary to care. We also need to be mindful and think about how we are structuring our day-to-day operations in the practice, right? So that If I have a patient coming in, I need to have the tools and the resources so that I can send an email broadcast to all of my patients. Hey, this is a notification that might have gone out to you. Please ignore it. Business as usual, will find a way, because your bottom line, your cash flow, is extremely important. And so the disadvantage of working with some of these networking umbrella companies is the fact that they add you and or remove you at their disposal, at their discretion. You just need to be prepared for this. But how do you master this? Because at the end of the day, it is the reason why you're joining this network is because it's being recommended to you. It's the best option out there. And while I agree with that, I think that there's also important for you to know what to build your own relationships, right? So you need to understand that oh, I think I already covered this, but let's go over the some key concepts and things that you can do. So the first option you have is to do a direct contract where you participate directly. And I've seen, and I'm going to show you some offices that have been able to successfully get a direct contract with, which eliminates a lot of the confusion and being at the mercy of just having your name leased out to all these companies and at their discretion. You have the option of signing up through the umbrella relationship, and when you're doing this, you are going to face situations similar to the one that I just shared about Carrington. So if that is the case and the fee schedule is there and it's feasible for you, you just have to have strategies around it. For my clients, specifically for Guardian and what happened yesterday, now you're going to need to go back or affected, where actually it's not going to affect you because it is happening August 1st, but it's, it shouldn't affect you at this point. So that's the good news. The bad news is that if they didn't make the decision and they were actually willing to do this, then as of tomorrow, as of next week, your office would be considered out of network and you had to go through this whole process of doing things. So one of the things that I have done that I want to, for those of you who are watching till the end, I have put together a folder that has all the different client lists from all the different insurance companies that will drive you dizzy if we try to share all of those with you. But I think it's important that you get empowered and that you have this information in front of you. So, some key concepts related to networking. Okay. So, leasing arrangements. This is basically, I just share this with you. So I'm just going through the slides because I had them networking. So if you are not working directly with an insurance company, which in most cases I do make the recommendation, and there is a framework and a reason why you would want to choose to work directly with an insurance company or through an umbrella relationship, you have to do your due diligence, because at the end of the day, you start your business to serve the community. And there is no glory in being a fee for service practice owner if you are not being able to have financial freedom, if you are unable to plan ahead and keeping your staff happy and they feel that there's growth and long-term growth within the workforce, and thinking about your children's future and your retirement, right? Where's the glory of you being a fee for service practice if you don't have the structure and the systems in place to justify for that and the people to support that for you? So this is extremely important that you understand how the options that you have available. The disadvantage is you're always going to be at the mercy of them, but there are always plans that do have options for you out there. So one of the things that I learned recently, we mapped out and we have this folder. I'm going to see if I can share it with you now, just to give you a little overview, but I'm not very tech savvy. I'll share it with you guys. I'm going to leave the instructions towards the end of the video so that I can share the PDF. We put them all together with the option to opt out. So PPO optimization is through these lease network relationships that the insurances have. You may be able to get higher reimbursement through one umbrella versus the other. The umbrellas that I shared with you before, Zealous, Carrington, Dentamax, Connection Dental, you get a fee offer from each one of them. You look at the plans, the client list or the payer list of all the companies that fall under that umbrella. If you, based on the best fee schedule that you see between them, you sign that contract, keeping in mind that what I shared with you before, um, I told you that there is this cost share savings. So signing up with too many contracts in your practice could be detrimental for your consistency in how your claims are being paid. Because if two plans overlap between contracts, the plans can choose to pay out the claim with your lowest fee schedule of all the plans that you are currently contracted with. So having all these different network relationships open does not help you have consistency in the way that your claims are being processed. So it's extremely important. So your options are, you have direct participation, you have leads partnership. This is how you optimize your participation, is through doing some direct contracts and some umbrella relationships, right? That's the optimization, which is what myself, for the average dentists out there, do, and also a lot of the consulting companies that are offering this as a service. You always have the option of opting out, and that is one of the things that we recently did. Cigna is undergoing a lot of changes. They're becoming their own mini umbrella. A lot of insurance companies, again, they're either competing with their policies with the Delta Dental, framework of benefit levels, to lower the cost so that they can go in and present it to the big companies, the Amazons and the Walmarts, right? So that's one of their, highest priorities, is to compete with Delta Dental at the benefit level, and trying to reduce the premium to these employers, right? So that's one aspect of it. But the other side of it is they're trying to also connect with one another and do this share, cost savings, in order for them to stay afloat and still be profitable. So you have to be mindful of that. If you want to use one specific fee schedule for a specific plan that it's relevant to your business or to your patient, to your practice, then what you do is you need to request to opt out. You have that option. And we have done a lot of homework to gather the opt out forms and the resources. And we give our clients access to this. The minute we wrap up on a project, we simply just create an executive summary. And we said, we want to empower you to have relationship with these insurance agents. This is who we work with. These are the pros and cons of how you chose to work with the insurance companies. This is what you should anticipate moving forward. And these are best practices and tools and strategies that you can use, because your relationship with us will come to an end, while the insurance relationship is going to be long after our program is completed. So this is important for you to know. And one of the things that I also that has been really interesting for me to learn about has been a company that I was told by a dentist recently that they have a Connection Dental contract. And through this Connection Dental contract, they are at a broker level relationship with this insurance company negotiator, which to me was just I've never heard of that. Like, I've seen some really unethical people out there that go in front of an insurance company and to the agent, and they create some special deal to to hand over a specific fee schedule in order for them to grow their margin and for this company to grow faster. That's unethical within itself. But I've also learned recently about a dentist who, like, a husband whose wife is paying a monthly subscription for having access to an umbrella relationship contract for the company that helped them sign up. This is stuff that you can do yourself. You just need to be empowered with the knowledge and the resources to do so, so that you're not at the mercy of a lot of unethical people out there that are taking advantage of your lack of awareness about how insurances work and how you can navigate these changes. So here is how to master networking participation. And I know that a lot of you are probably thinking, when are we going to get to that, right? So here is one illustration that I wanted to share with you from one of my clients versus a client that reached out to me 3 years into his practice. So this the office here on the right is an office that I call by design. So this every dental office has about 5 insurances that are the most highly utilized in their schedule. And for most offices, the first one is Delta Dental. Now, we all know Delta Dental does not have lease partnership agreements. We know that they offer the worst benefit level to the members, and they're the biggest carrier in the country. So how do you leverage and how do you master networking with the PPOs in order to compete with this insurance? Well, I'll give you a secret. This dental practice has Delta Dental, United Concordia, Blue Cross Blue Shield, Humana, and MetLife. The fee schedule for Delta Dental, I think, was about $800 and something. Is a practice in Texas, while the umbrella relationship for MetLife was $1,200 for a crown. Now, mind you, for the MetLife um, lease partnership agreement, there, if the doctor were to sign up directly for this insurance company, we would be looking at uh, 3 networks that are part of the MetLife relationship. So we have PDP, PDP Plus, and Federal VIP. Through the direct relationship, she would have been at 40% lower fee schedule, but with access to those 3 networks, right? Policies or programs within MetLife that are sold to the public through their commercial insurances, pension, or what have you, right? The products that are out there. She chose to do the umbrella relationship under a much higher fee schedule and identified some employers that were part of her in-network lease partnership agreement and built a patient base with this model that ended up benefiting her practice and creating a good balance between the lowest paying insurance. So I trained the staff in the front desk to think of, without being driven by the insurance, but being mindful of having the right mindset. I want to have a good cap on my schedule between my Delta Dental population and my better paying plans. And this is something that I teach every one of my dental offices. Identify these employers, make sure you build relationships with them, and create that strategy to make that combination of direct contracts with the unnegotiated structure and your negotiated fee schedule have a happy balance. On the other side, I have here an office that was already established for, I think, 3 to 4 years. They reached out to me to do PPO renegotiations. I don't do many of those. I try to teach them. I try to do it with the office and empower the office manager. I think that the best results I've ever gotten is when I work with people that really are interested in learning and having taking ownership of their results instead of outsourcing it to me or thinking that the next company is going to be the next big fix in their business. No one is coming out there to save your business. You have to take ownership and control yourself. So for this practice, they reached out to me. I did an assessment of the practice. Again, Delta Dental, United Concordia, Blue Cross Blue Shield, Cigna, that send the letter to all the insurance companies, MetLife, and Care First. So out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 insurance companies, 95% of those insurances, if not 90% of them, are non-negotiable. Delta Dental is non-negotiable. United Concordia, the Blue Cross Blue Shield, Cigna, it's lower in their fee schedule. Care First is part of the Anthem, Blue Cross Blue Shield family, so they don't negotiate. So we were left with, hey, what do we do with MetLife? This dental practice had been advised to drop their direct contract and go through an umbrella relationship that offer them higher fee schedule. And the office manager told the doctor, I am not comfortable with that because I am aware and I know that some of my patients are going to be considered and dropped. So I don't know. In a lot of dental offices, do not keep track of the programs that the patients have. Is it Cigna DPPO or Cigna Advantage? They are not trained to enter the information accurately in the software, and that leads to not being able to make informed decisions and run reports that help you paint the picture for you to create new changes and strategies. So, um, for this particular case study, we said, these are the only insurances, but here's what we're going to do. I agree with you. You're right about you having partial access through the higher fee schedule, which is one of the disadvantages. The higher the fee schedule, the fewer membership access you're going to gain through the umbrella relationship. And although on my startup practice, we made it work because we had a strategy going into the practice and training going into the practice. For this practice that is 3 years old, that already has a direct contract and a patient base, is going to hurt the cash flow of the practice. So what we did was we created a game plan, which included reaching out to the insurance companies to try to negotiate with them directly. And to our surprise, something that no one is out there saying or advocating to even try, because everyone is jumping on the wagon of the umbrella relationships and similar situations at the mercy of having one day the insurance company say, oops, we don't want to be in the network through these umbrella relationship, we're going to drop you. And the next day saying, oops, we take it back. We are going to reverse that. So we reached out to the insurance company. The office manager was trained to do so, and she was able to negotiate a 30% increase for a direct contract with MetLife. And so, what I'm trying to say with this is, while this is not true for every office across the nation, giving it a try and empowering yourself and doing your due diligence and taking ownership of the process is extremely powerful, and is going to make you a much better leader and owner of your practice if you follow these steps. So I was very happy with the results for this practice. And the doctor was like, Maritza, you did it. And I said, no, we did it. Your office manager did it. No disruption to their bottom line. An increase to the 30, I think it was like $100,000 MetLife brought in. So now that we're going to have $30,000 more. So the return on investment was absolutely great. I was very proud of that project, but that's not always the results that you get. So here's a negotiation strategy of how it typically works. Now that I've shared with you, hey, you have the option of working directly with MetLife. If you work directly with MetLife, you're going to have access to all of their members. If you go through an umbrella relationship, you're going to have access to partial network. It's going to take longer for you to access that network. You're going to need to navigate the relationship and manage that with the patients on the day-to-day basis. Are you prepared to do that? If the answer is yes, then that's the route you want to take, because again, the solution to the low reimbursement is the umbrella PPO networking strategies. Within the PPO networking strategy, then you need to navigate managing the patient experiences, dealing with the patients on a day-to-day basis, and keeping the expectations right. Similar situation with Aetna. For Aetna directly and Aetna through an umbrella company, there is much higher fees and so on and so forth. So this is, one of the things that I enjoy doing. The last thing that I wanted to share with you is about how, like, the last piece of advice that I want to share with you is in terms of managing the patient, mastering or conquering in PPO insurance networking, has to do with the 80-20 rule. Your success is going to be 80% your mindset and 20% the tools and strategies that you use on the day-to-day basis in your dental practice. So 80% is insurance is secondary to care. If I choose to work with an insurance company directly, it's because I know I'm going to have a lower reimbursement, but I'm going to be able to access more members. If I go on the route of insurance through a PPO network, right, and I don't have a direct contract, so I'm just partially in the network, I understand that insurance is secondary to care. If my office is contracted with MetLife through the umbrella relationship, then that means I'm a PDP plus practice. If I am not accepting a direct contract with Cigna and I so happen to eventually access the Cigna network through an umbrella or network relationship, that means that my office is a partial DPPO practice, and that I'm going to be out of network with some of their other tiers and networks, and that's okay because I have a strategy and I have the right mindset. I have the right people at the job, making sure that we are enhancing the perceived value of our practice and we're justifying the strategies and the model that we are using. So this is basically the biggest takeaway that I want you to have, is to understand that your mindset is going to be the most important thing. Then from there, you're going to have obviously your resources and tools at your disposal, and some of those are basically being able to have templates, letters, and things like that. So to wrap up for this episode today, I really want you to take control of your practice and make insurance participation your ally and not your adversary. So learn as much as you can, empower yourself and your team, hire the right people and the right team of advisors, and continue your relationship independently with the insurance carriers so that you can immediately have someone to reach out to that is going to help troubleshoot some of these things. Some pro tips and things that I wanted to share with you is subscribe to the plans for notifications. This is one thing that is extremely important. They have newsletters. And again, some of these plans may be relevant to you because they're nationwide, but what if, right? Um, a lot of times they send a notification, hey, congratulate, good news. We've just went into a partnership, agreement with this company. It may be a company that maybe, make a benefit to you, and you can let your admin team know ahead of time. So subscribing to the plans for notifications is important. Another thing that is extremely important is having a centralized system for tracking relationships and comparing fees. So we have like a spreadsheet where we take the top 5 insurance companies, we take the top 30 procedure codes, and we have a master file with all of the client lists, right? Like all the insurances and the plans that they have. Again, it's an extensive list of plans. So some of them you may not even heard of. I've been in the dental industry for 25 years and I still don't recognize some of the insurances that I see, only because I work on the East Coast and some of these insurances are most prevalent on the West Coast, and so on and so forth. So have template letters to personally reach out to the patients in this kind of scenarios, and emails to go there. One of the things that I started doing recently was, like I use ChatGPT to create templates for anything and everything that I can think of. And so I help some of my clients come up with some of this template, notifications. Hey, by the way, this insurance company might send you a letter. Typically, we're the ones making the decision to drop an insurance. But if you happen to be in a situation where you're at the mercy and they are the ones, making the calls, you can step in and communicate with your patients and tell them what options you have available in the office as a consequence of whatever changes are being made. And lastly, another pro tip that I wanted to share with you is develop an ongoing relationship with your agents. As I said earlier, your relationships for the people that are servicing your business and allowing you to provide to your family and to your patients and your staff are your priority. And outsourcing the outcome to an outside company, it's not going to be the best advice that I can give you. I am always just a phone call away or an email away for any of my clients or new doctors. I'm an open book and I'm always looking to help. But I think that for me, I love empowering people to take ownership and have autonomy in their practices. And so with that, I want to wrap up and thank you for joining me today. Next steps, what I want you to do next is if you have any concerns or questions, or if you want access to our master file with the list of clients, I'll be I will be happy to share that with you. Share this video with someone who may need it. Join me as I am putting together content, and support me as I am putting content together and showing up more often in these social media platforms. I really appreciate your time, your trust, and your support. I will see you next week. I have a special guest coming up next week, and I'm really excited to announce what the topic is going to be for my next episode. So stay tuned, and thank you so much again for your help. Enjoy the rest of your week and conquer PPO networking in your practice, and win as a practice owner. Until next time, guys.